Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the go-to platform where faith-driven entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts share their stories, wisdom, and expertise to inspire and impact others. This isn't just another interview series. This is a strategic platform designed to amplify the voices of high-level entrepreneurs, which especially includes kingdom entrepreneurs who are making a real difference in their industries. My goal is simple: to serve you, the expert, by giving you a stage to share your message, expand your reach, and create lasting value for others. Through authentic, in-depth conversations, we uncover the real journeys, challenges, and victories behind today's leading experts. Each interview isn't just content. It's a powerful asset that helps you to establish authority, increase visibility, and connect with the right people. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode here. And this is all part of a brand new series that I'm doing called Kingdom Influencer Voices. So it's the voices of kingdom entrepreneurs and authors and all the like. So today I have a very, very special guest whom I am very excited to have this conversation around. Plus, as we were chatting on our pre-interview call, found out some really cool things about Davida that we just like really resonate on a lot of different views and all the things. So Davida is an executive director of the Kingdom Ambassador Network and leading voice in faith-based conservative immigration reform. She brings over 20 years of federal and U.S. diplomatic service experience, informing her disciplined national interest approach to policy awareness and international engagement. Davida is the architect of the Lighthouse Strategy, a results-driven framework emphasizing border accountability, lawful immigration pathways, and family preservation without rewarding lawlessness. So good. She is also a key advocate for the Dual Hope Act, advancing reforms that restore order, uphold moral responsibility, and protect American sovereignty. Oh my goodness, Davida, I am so excited to have this conversation. And spoiler alert, people, those of you who are listening to this episode, this isn't going to be Davida's one and only appearance on my show. She's going to be appearing again as a returning guest on another show, and again on a show that I actually co-host with a partner of mine. So yeah, if you follow me very closely, you will most likely get to see her 3 different times. So that's how excited that I am to have her on today's episode. So Davida, here's how we're going to start. I want you to start unpacking your story, share all the things, and then we're just going to have a conversation and ask questions from there. So go for it. The mic is yours, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Ken. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation that we as a nation, we as a people, we as a group, we need to have. We need to have this conversation about immigration. So a little bit about me. Again, my name is Davida, and I am the executor of the Kingdom Ambassador Network. I actually come from a family of immigrants, a long history of service towards the United States overseas, and experienced challenges over there. We were from Burma. It's actually one of the countries that's banned right now, so it's very close to home. Everything that's going on nationally is really almost like, personal to the point where we really need to have this conversation, right? So, my family came from Burma. We were immigrants. My dad and my mother worked for USAID. My dad worked for the State Department, and that was my leg into federal service. When the first time I took the oath of office, I was 18, and I took that oath very seriously to be able to defend the borders of the United States, national interest, as well as the Constitution. We defend that
Mm.
Constitution. And with that being said, that's when I began my service with the State Department, providing immigration service domestically and abroad. So when I was within the United States, I worked with multiple different agencies within. We were with the National Passport and National Visa Center over in New Hampshire, and various offices within the State Department over in DC. So that is, 20 years, just absolutely love service to the United States and found a way to really recognize. I remember being at the windows in offices abroad. I was the fraud prevention manager most of the time. So I was in a country, Guyana. Georgetown, Guyana was the embassy that I was serving at. And I remember people providing me certain types of information that I knew wasn't quite right. But then getting to know these individuals, I'm realizing that there was a huge deficit in communication between the person across from the window from me and the US government. And at that moment, this was probably a good 15 years ago, that's when I said, I wish I had an opportunity to provide an option for that deficit, to enhance that communication between people that want to come visit or live in the United States and the government, the way that we receive that information.
Mm.
And so here we are in 2026 now, excited
Mhm.
for this new year. Yes, and want to see some different things happen. Last year, with my organization, there was a lot of challenges that we had to experience because we primarily serve the underrepresented migrant community. Now, from the very beginning, because I had taken that oath of office, and that oath of office doesn't end when you resign, at least not in my books. That
Mm.
oath of when I speak an oath, that's going to continue with me until my last days. And so when I am formulating my organization, putting together my business, and coming up with immigration strategy, the primary goal was to ensure that when migrants come to the United States, they are an economic asset to the US. And if you think about it, migrants don't come to the United States, at least the majority of migrants do not come to the United States in order to sit around and do nothing. They're usually here because they want to provide a better life for their families. And so that means they're encouraged to work. And what I've noticed, at least with the migrants that I've worked with, that I've experienced and have encountered, is that once they are able to get to a certain point of success in the United States, they're actually giving back to their home country, which limits the need for people in their home country to immigrate to the United States. And that's actually what happened with my family. I saw that my mother and my father, they both um, started giving annually, monthly to their home country. And so I am the last of generations that's actually here. The rest of my family is over in Burma. And unfortunately, Burma is a war-stricken country. There is a lot of danger over there. And there are some people that are in severe danger simply because they are associated with the United States. So some of these provisions that have come over within the last year, they will fatally impact families throughout the world. And that's why this year, through my organization, through every opportunity that I have, am required to really present this mission to something that is in human interest. This is a human rights concern, especially when we're talking about limiting certain countries, when we're talking about limiting a humanitarian parole in certain things. And yes, there has been a lot of misuse of
Mhm.
government policies. There has been a
Mhm.
lot of misuse of categories, but there also have been a lot of underused categories that would benefit the United States government. Right now, there is another immigration reform legislation that is in review. It's called the Dignity Act, and they are proposing additional laws to be added. With the Dual Hope Act, um, we actually don't need any additional laws. We just need to ensure accountability for the current laws that we have. We want to ensure that the United States government is effectively utilizing the categories that we have, that the counterparts, the people that are eligible for these categories, these immigration categories, are utilizing the categories that we currently have, and they're actually completing the process. A lot of immigrants, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Ken, but there are a lot of immigrants that have been waiting legally in line for over 3 years. And this
Mm,
is not because they're waiting for a numerical number to be available. The visa is available. They're just waiting for what they call administrative processing. And so administrative processing, it's very possible for this administrative processing to be security checks and backgrounds and things like that. And so, yes, we will have a handful of individuals, even a small percentage, hopefully below 3 to 5, maybe 10% of individuals that are waiting for security things to come back. And that's going to take as long as it needs because we want to ensure that the United States is safe. Absolutely. But if that number where people are actually waiting for a visa to become available, and we're entering into like 65%, 75% of people that are actually waiting over 3 years so that they can get their visa. I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever applied to college or anything else like that, but could you imagine waiting for an application for 3+ years and
that's
your entire
insane.
life? It's insane. And your life
Yeah.
is on hold, your family is on hold, your career is on hold. What are we doing at this point? So, the Dual Hope Act is calling for accountability for both the United States government as well as immigrants, and providing an opportunity for migrants to be able to say, yes, I'm here. Currently, I'm here under X circumstance, right? And
Mm.
this is not a call for amnesty at all, right? So this is not amnesty. What I'm actually suggesting with the Dual Hope Act is a program that has been under huge scrutiny this last year. It's called the Temporary Protective Status. Have you heard of the TPS?
I
By
actually have not.
okay,
This is actually all educating to me because I don't
okay,
know a lot about this. I do
okay,
know a lot of the horrible things that have happened around immigrants, like the unlawful ones and different things like that. And we'll probably have a little bit of a discussion around that. But what you're talking about, like all the good things that we're trying to do and everything else, this is actually educating me. So
okay.
please continue.
Absolutely. So the temporary protective status program is intended for people to temporarily, and of course, this program has been overused and misused in many cases, but temporarily allow them to stay in the United States, again, as a temporary status so that their country can go back to whatever situation it needs to reform from. This is usually used in cases of if there is like natural disasters for some of our bordering countries. So Haiti has used this as an example, or if there is war. So another country would be Ethiopia that has used temporary protective status because of war. Burma is another one that has had access to temporary protective status. So it has historically been because other countries have had issues, and that's why they're allowed in the United States temporarily until their status in their country, the situations in their country gets better. What I'm calling for with the Dual Hope Act is that we claim the United States as going through an issue, a crisis with immigration. And because the United States is going through a crisis of immigration, we are allowing people that are currently here without any, and of course, going through the same type of background checks, right? But we're allowing the people that are currently here to claim temporary protected status for 18 months. And that's the standard time for temporary protected status. So during that 18 months, everybody that is registered as this particular category, TPS, with this program is allowed to then transfer their status to an appropriate category. If they're a wife or a husband, a spouse of a US citizen, if they are a child of a legal permanent resident, if they are working and their employer now needs to file a petition for them, if they're self-employed, if they're an investor, if they're an entrepreneur, whatever category, or if they're a student, whatever category that they should be under, they'll have 18 months in order to comply with our regulation. So that's one part of it. And the second part of it, like we discussed earlier, is that the United States holds accountability for ourselves. And within that 18 months, we're actually able to process them. And that would actually eliminate completely the term of illegal love, of not having status here in the United States. This will ensure that everybody's accounted for. It's not this hideous type of registration where we just want to know where your address is. We're actually providing an option for you. This is also gives us the opportunity to review every single person that is in the United States. This also provides us the opportunity to reform our immigration system. Our immigration system has not actually underwent a reform process since its initiation. From we follow the Immigration and Nationality Act. Trying to say what year? It was the year of 1952. So
Wow.
yes, we have not had um, really any type of reform with the Immigration and Nationalities Act. Yes, there have some things that have been allowed. Of course, now we've seen with President Trump that we have executive orders that can provide certain um, options within a particular administration or an update to policy. And of course, within the executive branch, the different agencies also have the authority to come up with different policies, forms, things of that nature. But an overall haul of immigration reform has not been seen in our country. And it's about time. And this isn't
Mm-mm.
something that happened with President Trump. With President Trump, this has been going on for a very long time, what we needed immigration reform. And I think President Trump is the right president to do it because he's not afraid to go ahead and say, you know what, this doesn't make sense and we need to fix it. And immigration is definitely one of those things. Um, but there has to be a better way to go about it. I
Mm.
love the fact that his focus has been on security of the United States. So
Yes.
his focus has been about securing the border. And yes, it is crucial and essential to secure our border. But there are other concerns to security rather than a physical border, right? I particularly, and this is a personal concern, is with the gold cards, the individuals that are able to pay a lot of money in order to obtain status here in the United States, I'm very curious to know what type of security checks and things are going through for those individuals and
Mm.
how it goes about. But withstanding those things, immigration as a whole definitely needs to be reviewed.
Oh my gosh, boy, do I agree with that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's so much to say here. There's just there's so much. Um, I'm going to throw a question out at you because I'm curious what your thoughts are. And I mean, and if you don't know, or if you don't know how to answer it, or you don't want to answer it, it's not a problem at all. But this is a very curious question that I want to throw out to you. So I really do. So this is one of the things that we align on. Trump supporters love it. Absolutely 100%. Under the administration of Biden, just what are your thoughts on what he allowed in the borders? Because this is a very hot topic that we're talking about tonight. There's a lot of misconceptions around what really happened and what's going on. And then there's misconceptions with what Trump is doing. Some people don't like the fact that Trump is, they say, attacking immigrants. And I think that's a misunderstanding because no, Trump is attacking the illegal immigrants that are here. And he is putting, as you said, securities in place for those who are here legally. So that's actually what's going on. But I find it interesting that the news out there just twists everything that he's doing. And so people think that Trump's this horrible person with what he's doing at the border and da 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 da, because the news stations, the mainstream, and just, kind of like a plug on that, you guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I constantly stand behind. Stop watching the mainstream news media. Stop watching that stuff because they're not telling you the whole truth. They're editing certain things out and they're making him say things that he's not. So just something. Um, but yeah, what are your thoughts about what happened during the Biden administration? Because what I saw during the Biden administration is there was loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of illegal immigrants coming in. And so just kind of like touch on that just a little bit. I am very curious on what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely. And a couple of different things here, just to let you know my sources. I agree with you completely. I do not watch mainstream media unless I'm trying to get encouraged to do something, right? My sources come directly from whitehouse.gov, uscis.gov, dhs.gov. It needs to come from those sources because if not, then it's not real. As you know, as far as immigration is concerned, or really anything that's going on when it concerns the individuals.
Mm,
So I completely agree there. As far as the Biden administration, I do believe that extends a little bit past Biden. I believe that it is more of a social view, I suppose, where there has been not only, it didn't really just impact immigration, and this is what I was not all that excited about during previous and excuse me, previous administrations, because they're social programs. So I love social programs because they're there when you need it, but the overuse of social programs also creates a dependency. So migrants that would want to come to the United States to work, if you have a social program where you don't have to do it, then are you really going to have that hustle? Like, and then this goes for anybody. If you have to walk across the street to and I'm going to tell you I'm guilty of this as well because food just came to mind. So if I have to go to the store, then I will go to the store. But if it's cold outside and I can Instacart, I'm going to Instacart, right? And I think that's just human nature of it. And so with these social programs and reform of the social programs that we're kind of seeing right now, I think it's absolutely crucial because it's important to have them because things can happen. And one of the social programs or one of the concerns I'm thinking of right now is the Afghan refugees, right? So we've had Afghan refugees, and Afghanistan refugees are people that have acted translators to our soldiers in Afghanistan. And because they serve the United States government, they and their families are now targets with targets on their heads. And that's why they were allowed to come to the United States under the special immigrant visa program. And they were able to come here as refugees because of their service to the United States. These individuals right now are being targeted through the Trump's programs.
mm,
They but one of the issues when they came to the United States, now they're translators. Some of these people, they're spouses of doctors, like that both them and their families are allowed to come. They're very educated individuals, but their education does not directly transfer to what is received in the United States. Rather than, and this is part of the we'll talk about the Lighthouse immigration strategy,
right.
but rather than actually having an intake interview and seeing, hey, what do you have? What asset could you become to the United States government? We already know you've served us overseas. How can you continue to be an asset in the United States? And we can truly integrate them into the United States. What we ended up doing was we gave them a place to stay, and some food and some money and 3 months to get it together. that had no active strategy to work. And so what's going to happen is they're going to need, okay, well, 3 months, we're going to need another 3 months. Now the 6 months, and we're going to need another 6 months. So now you've been here a year. There's still no integrative process. So now the strategy for as far as these migrants are concerned is I'm not going to be successful here, but that's
Mm.
okay. I want my children to be successful here. So they're going to go to school. They're going to do the things. And of course, those children will learn to do what they need to do and become, active participants in the economy. But their parents also had the ability to do that. But we, as the United States, when we receive them, we didn't receive them with an active integration process. That's why my website is actually, but it's the Lighthouse Immigration Strategy, where we believe that immigration integrates. So it's immigrationintegrates.com. And the reason for that is because integration is the hugest part when it comes to immigration in the United States. I always said that as a diplomat, going from one country to the next, they always had a welcoming team. Right. So you go to one country and it's very challenging to go to another country because, you don't know their customs, you don't know their culture, and you can read about it all you want. But once you get there, it's going to be very different. The air is going to
Mm.
smell different. They're going to drive on the wrong side of the road. For us, it's going to be the wrong side of the road. I remember when I was serving over in Yemen, some of the locally employed staff said that the markings on the road that indicates the left lane for the right lane, those were just for decoration. And so you just,
Oh,
when you're driving,
jeez.
right, when you're driving, just don't get hit and don't hit anybody else. That is the only rule that, you have in some places. And so the going to another country is going to be challenging. And if you don't know the language, and if you don't have anybody receiving you, and you don't have friends, and you don't have family, and you don't have work lined up, well, what do? Right? And the people, the welcome party, are typically not the best of the best. They usually are the worst of the worst. Why? Because this person doesn't have anybody, looking out for them. So all we need is bodies to do whatever it is that we need to do. So if we had a receiving party, an integration system, then migrants that come to the United States would be able to actively integrate to the United States. So again, back to the Afghan refugees. If when they entered the US, it wasn't these are the provisions we're giving you and good luck, but it's all right, let's actually have a welcoming interview to understand what assets you could be, and let's connect you with certain people within our communities. So if you are a doctor, let's hook you up with a hospital, and maybe you can act as a nurse and then see where that goes. Or if you were formerly a teacher, then we can put you in different types of schools or daycares or wherever that is, and you can actually start to be a solution to some of the issues that we
Mm.
have in the United States. And that would really have helped. Now, when people that are coming from, going back to the borders of Biden, right? There's actually maybe 20% of the illegal immigrants entered through those borders. Most people actually come to the United States through valid visas, and they allow their visa status to expire. And there's multiple reasons for them to expire. So the focus on the border, okay, that's okay,
But
but
there's a larger.
there's a larger population of people that are coming in with valid visas, and understand the way that the Immigration and Nationality Act is written. The consular officer overseas that are issuing these visas, they have a huge authority to go ahead and deny. And there's a lot of people that are just denied, even though they potentially could qualify. They were unable to overcome the burden of an intending immigrant, so they were denied. But even those individuals, so if you're coming as a student, maybe there is a way where we can keep in contact with the students that are here, more so than just a J program or DS 2019 or SEVIS, but like an annual contact to see, hey, how are you actually doing with your classes? When is your point of graduation? What do you plan to do after graduation?
So you're saying
Mhm.
that there really, so in a sense, you're saying there really was no border crisis. because everybody was screaming during Biden's administration, border crisis, border crisis, border crisis. At least the right people were screaming that, right?
Right.
Um, so you're saying the issue wasn't necessarily the border, which goes along with something that a friend of mine who has insider connections told me.
Hmm.
And, kind of like my mom and I were both watching and we're just like, but there's people coming. What? How? Why is there no? Now this makes sense. So you're essentially saying the real problem is these people are coming in through actually legit channels, but their visas are expiring. So now, and then nothing's done about it when their visas are expired. Nothing's done about it, and they are still here.
Right. And they have a desire to transfer status or change status in the United States, but sometimes it takes too long to process, or they don't have the right information.
Mm,
We have attorneys that work with us, but we are a 508c1a nonprofit, faith-based organization. So we provide low-cost immigration information to the public so that they have information that they need in order to change their status. Now we just need the government to kind of get on board and ensure that they can process in
mm,
time. But there are concerns with, yes, people do come to the United States and they just let their status expire. At least historically, that's what they've done. And I'm not saying that the southern border wasn't an issue, because there were other issues that started to come
oh yeah.
from it. Yeah, and I think it started as a trickle until it started to really come through as a wave. And just hearing some of the documentaries that I've heard and seen of women understanding that they will be violated, at some point during their trek from leaving their home to entering the United States. And there were, young girls, and there's just so many horror stories. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that way, and it shouldn't really be that way. And so, yeah, there was some definite issues with the border, but there are some additional ongoing issues that we're still going to need to review. And I think that's why President Trump has identified those 35 countries that have been completely barred or partially barred from entering the United States.
Mm,
But some of the things that's concerning me right now with those bars is that it bars even legal entry to the United States for immigrant visa applicants. So let's just say you are a spouse of a United States citizen, or if you are a child or a parent of an American citizen, or a spouse of a legal permanent resident, or if you're trying to come to the United States to immigrate and you're telling the US government, I want to come here to immigrate, here is my petitioner, and my petitioner has these set amount of financial ability to support me when I'm in the United States, provided by 2 years of tax returns. Even those individuals are currently barred from the people that are holistically barred from the United States. And so an ongoing bar, like how long can we do this? Hopefully, this is a temporary provision in order to restore things that need to be restored, such as accountability within the US government with itself.
100%. Now,
Yeah.
question, I mean, we've kind of answered this already, but I kind of want to just like give a really, in-depth, clearer answer.
Hmm.
So, I mean, obviously mainstream is one answer for this and different things like that, but I kind of, so besides the mainstream and what people are being told in the main area out there, why is why is immigration one of the most emotionally charged and misunderstood issues in America today? Why do you think that is? Let's dive a little deeper on that.
Okay. So, I've tried to run away from my responsibility towards immigration, the program as a whole, for a very long time. But when I tried to explore different industries, I've always found that every single person that I spoke with had some sort of connection with a migrant, whether it's through their family, whether it's through a friend, whether it's through a loved one, whether it's through an employer, because there are a lot of employers that are immigrants as well.
Mm,
And so people are connected to immigration. We are a country of immigrants. For the United States to say that we no longer are open towards immigration to the United States, that is cutting off a piece of us that makes us different, special, and unique. There is not another country in this world, worldwide, that has so much diversity. And it's because of our immigration. It's because we are a nation of immigrants. And if we
Legal
shut
immigration, legal
legal
immigration. Just
immigrants,
we're just being clear on that
mhm,
here, people. So
mhm.
legal immigration.
Absolutely. And so, yes, absolutely. We are a country of legal immigrants. Well, see, because immigration was in 19, I think it was 55, right? So this was right when the Italians were coming, and that's when we needed to set up some sort of immigration
Yeah.
program. And so now we're looking at a whole different set of rules here, a whole different playing field that the world is having, because now we have a lot of more work opportunities, right? And we are more competitive on a not just a national field, but a worldwide framework. And so making sure that our immigration policies reflect that is really important.
It is.
But yes, we are a nation of immigrants, legal immigrants. We are a nation of diversity, and that's what makes us special and
Mhm.
unique. And for us to maintain that and for us to keep that and for us to ensure that our policies are actually keeping up with the times is super important
It is.
because we are going to find a lot of people they're not just coming in with boats anymore, as they did with Ellis Island, right? There's hundreds and thousands of international flights every single day. And we need to ensure that when people come to the United States, for whatever reason that they're coming, whether it is a humanitarian reason, and if it is a humanitarian reason, then they are received well so they can integrate well. If they are received and integrated well, then they can be economically successful in the United States, pay taxes, and then be an asset to the US. If they're coming in as a student or another non-immigrant, a long-term non-immigrant visa category, then they should also be checked in on and making sure that, or, annual check-ins where they're able to ensure, hey, you know what, I've encountered this issue. I found this employer, but I'm a little concerned about the things that they're saying here. And maybe there is just open conversation where we can really discover what the issue is. And we also need to hold our employers within the United States accountable because
Mhm.
let's be real, it's a lot easier and cheaper to hire somebody under the table, not have to apply for a visa category for
Yeah.
them. And so that's another reason why, whether they're working in a kitchen or if they're even providing tech support or it's just so much easier for them to be under a non-category versus a category that they're qualified for. So this requirement for accountability, it really goes up to very different levels, but it's very charged because we are a nation of immigrants that we're going to interact with it. And it also demonstrates our humanity because we are the United States. And I might be a little biased, but I do believe we are the greatest nation in the planet.
Amen.
Um, right? And we have a lot to offer.
So much
Um,
so that we are actually the flagship. If America falls, the rest of the world falls. That is a fact. We are the flagship
mhm.
country. So, yes, I fully 100% agree with that.
Absolutely. And we have a lot to offer. And, just like in a household, if you have a lot to offer, there are people that are going to try and mooch, right? There are people that are going to try and misuse what it is that you're giving, your generosity. But because we have a lot to offer, we have also the ability to innovate. We have the ability to recreate and to really set the trend for what the rest of the world is going to look like. So if we're going to go down this path of saying immigration will only be seen as, the worst of the worst, and we're going to start banning people and we're going to start doing these things, then we're going to see a lot of other humanitarian issues overseas. And you know what? Because we are the leaders, we started that. is that the stance we want to take? We need to be very cautious as leaders to ensure that our strategies are ensuring its requirements, right? We are securing our borders. We
Mhm.
have open doors that work, right? There are doors and they have hinges, and those hinges are well oiled. All right. The State Department, the individuals that issue the visas, right? The State Department, the consular sections, the consular office, they have a closed borders open door policy, right? Which means our borders are secured, but our doors work. And if that is the truth, then that means that people are able to enter through those doors. But I do believe there needs to be another realm of intake where we're actually helping people with this integration process. So we can demonstrate to the rest of the world that we can handle migrants coming to the United States, that we are open towards innovation, that we see value in diversity and multicultures, and that we are not just a melting pot, that we actually do appreciate different cultures, but we are a country that is governed by laws and regulations and
Mhm.
ensure that regulation is important to uphold.
100%, 100%. The other thing that you talk about as well, and it's in your bio, and it's protecting American sovereignty. So before I move on to the next question that I had for you, explain that a little bit, protecting American sovereignty.
Okay. So American sovereignty goes down to the Constitution. All right.
Mm,
So I see American sovereignty as freedoms, freedoms that you can see in the United States that you will not see in another country,
mhm,
right? So yes, freedom to practice religion, freedom of speech, freedom to pursue happiness, right? But also capitalism, freedom to do business in the United States, freedom for economic security, freedom in order to maintain your family as a household, but also grow. So the United States, we the people, right? And so
amen.
when I see that flag, yes, that's what I see. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, and we go ahead and do certain things. So when I say American sovereignty, these people are usually fleeing. Like if we're talking about humanitarian issues, they're usually fleeing from some sort of their national issues, right?
Hmm.
Whether it is dictatorship, whether it is genocide, whether it is whatever freedoms that the United States is offering, their country they're a victim of whatever that is, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Them or their families are um, going to have to suffer consequences. So when
100%.
they come to the United States, they would be the most patriotic Americans because their lives, they were saved by the United States, that the United States was able to offer refuge, safety, and also economic support, but not support. I really do not believe in giving fish. I believe in teach me how to do this thing so that I can do it well and then I can share that knowledge with others. Because the
Hmm.
truth of the matter is, there is a lot of innovation to be made, right? And even Zoom, the platform we're using right now to communicate, was by an individual that was rejected a non-immigrant visa
Wow, I
hundreds
didn't
of
even know
times.
that.
Yes,
And I
and he
only
ended.
discovered Zoom summer of 2020 when I launched my brand and company. I mean, and we
Wow.
all know what happened in that. That was a
Yeah.
big giant joke. That's not the word I want to use, though. I'd rather use the word S to describe the S show, um, if you will, because that's what 2020 was. But yeah, I never knew that about Zoom, though. That's pretty cool because Zoom is actually now responsible for everything, a lot of things that I do in my business. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and he ended up immigrating to the United States. Well, he came as a non-immigrant visitor, and Silicon Valley, and then developed one product, and then the next, and then now we have Zoom. And so innovation also comes by experiences,
Hmm.
and experiences comes is one of the way experiences comes by people from that are not in the United States that have seen things outside the US and they bring that value to the US. The question is, do we have the capacity to receive them?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely. So, my next question is, how did immigration become framed as an either or issue instead of a responsibility based one?
Oh, that is a great question. An either or issue rather than a responsibility based one. This probably predates me because, and I predate the Department of Homeland Security because they were actually created in 2003 in response to, uh, I'm sorry, the 9/11, right? So it was for
Mhm.
me, it was the USS Cole because I was actually in Yemen during the USS Cole bombing, which led to 9/11. And then Department of Homeland Security was created right after that. And so, yes, responsibility, it switched very much towards, all right, we're only going to secure the borders. But then once the borders are secured, I think the part that was missing is when people come to the United States, how do we ensure that they're successful? Because their success ensures the United States' success because we're all taxpayers. And if the taxpayer is successful, that means that what 20 to 33% is actually going to be paid in taxes. And
Mhm.
so if we can ensure that, taxes are being paid by tax-paying citizens, residents, whomever is businesses that are in the United States, then their success correlates directly to the US's economic success and growth. So I have no idea when that was, but it needs to be framed that way, that immigration is a responsibility not only for the immigrant, but also for the United States to maintain.
That is huge. Very,
Mhm.
very huge.
Absolutely.
Why do lawful immigration pathways matter for both immigrants and Americans? Can you go further into that?
Order. In one word, order.
Ooh, that's so
When,
good. I,
yeah.
I love how you just summed it up in a one word. Awesome.
Right.
Keep going though.
Absolutely. So, I'm Christian, and I love that my God is a God of order, and He provides the template for how we need His sovereignty, provides the template of how we need to maintain, whether it's our own households, our own cities, counties, states, federally. Everything requires order. And without order, there is chaos. And we do not need chaos. We need order because when you have order, you're going to just be able to see the results of things quicker. I'm sure you've noticed that in business as well. Without order, there's chaos. So absolutely. And the thing is, the Immigration and Nationality Act actually has various categories that will allow individuals to immigrate to the United States. We do have investor visas. We do have entrepreneurial categories. We do have work-based visas. We do have temporary intern visas. We
Mm,
have skilled labor and unskilled labor. We have agricultural workers. We have nurses. Um, we even have sports for people that are professional and not professionals. And we have actors. We have categories for every single potential out there.
we do.
Why are we
And
not
more.
using them? And more. The question is, why are we not using them? And one thing that falls under migrants, if you are on a temporary visa category, or not even a temporary visa category, but a temporary status in the United States, like a protected status, like temporary protected status, or even dreamers, and we might get a little slack for this, but even dreamers, that is a temporary status, which means you cannot hold on to that temporary status. You need to switch into a category that you will qualify for, whether it is through relationships or through your work. And um, it is essential, it is crucial that you make that switch because what President Trump did when he started creating some opposition when it comes to temporary protected status and even dreamers canceling certain programs, that got a lot of heat. But in truth, it is a temporary provision. So once that temporary provision no longer applies, you no longer have status, which means you should have used that time wisely. And
Mhm.
hopefully we'll give, and it's a wake-up call because it's also cultural. If we don't tell individuals, hey, you need to use this time wisely and look for another category that you're going to qualify for, then that's not going to happen. You
No.
might be 7 years old when you first become a dreamer, and then now you're 23, and now what is the question? And we still need to be able to say, all right, well, now we need to be looking for work if we're, and I really promote work because that is crucial. That is huge. Even in relationships, when I first started my immigration company back in 2020, what I found was that there are a lot of individuals during 2020 that found themselves in domestic violent type situations. So
Yeah.
I would have the petitioner and the beneficiary show up to their interview with me, or their consultation with me, and she has bruises on the right side of her face. And you know what's going on, you know what's happening, but because she's in that relationship and she doesn't feel as though she has another category, that this is her only means of immigration, and going back to her home country could mean death. It could be suicide for her. So I'd rather stay here
Wow.
in this horrific situation. What are the options? So creating economic freedom for yourself is absolutely crucial for just us individually, but also for migrants. So I'm always advocating for work in the United States, entrepreneurial. If you cannot find a job that is willing to do the right thing and apply for you to actually work there as your petitioner, then you might need to look into ways where you can earn revenue as a
Mm,
business owner, and then create jobs for others.
100%. Now,
Mhm.
it's so sad. It's so
Yeah.
sad that somebody going through that is now forced to go through that because it's their only option. And they're, yeah, oh my gosh, like that just should not be.
Mhm.
Um, Now, in your bio, you also talk about the Dual Hope Act. So, what is the
Mhm.
Dual Hope Act and what problem is it specifically designed to solve?
So the Dual Hope Act is designed to solve the issue of illegal immigrants in the United States currently. All right. So we have an estimated, because nobody knows an exact value, but an estimated 5 million illegal immigrants in the United States. I'm sorry, 15 million illegal immigrants in the United States.
It's
Yeah.
even a bigger number.
It's a
I
bigger
went
number than
wow at
that.
5 million, and now you're just like 15 million. I'm going,
Yeah.
what? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I
And you're
actually meant
talking about
illegal.
illegal immigrants.
Illegal immigrants
That
in the
is
United States
alarming.
currently. That is alarming completely. And on top of that, so President Trump, I think Department of Homeland Security said that 1.2 million um, exited this year, whether willfully or unwillingly was deported. But there is 1.2 million illegal immigrants that are no longer in the United States. Well, we
So
still.
technically, that means, sorry to interrupt you,
Mhm.
but technically, that also means that there's around 14 million people still here. And on top of that, and this is a whole different subject, I don't want to open up this can of worms, but I am going to mention it. Those 14 million are being allowed to vote.
No. Um, so I had moved from Virginia to Maryland and back to Virginia. And let me say, getting a voter's registration card as a US citizen, just changing states, was challenging. So I'm not
Okay.
sure. Yeah, so I'm not even sure if they're able to, I don't even know how they would do that.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure about the voting portion of
Okay.
it.
Anyhow,
Mhm.
continue.
Okay.
That was a side
All right.
thing, and I kind of
That's
just
fine.
threw that out there. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, this is it can be this particular topic, you guys, can be a very messy topic. And
It
so
can
I'm
be.
doing my best to ask as many questions here to provide clarity to anybody who's listening. But anyhow, continue with
Mhm.
the Dual
The
Hope
dual hope.
Act. Yeah.
Absolutely. So for the approximate 13.8 or 14 million individuals that are currently in the United States right now without status, the Dual Hope Act will present an opportunity. It will present an opportunity not for amnesty, but for accountability. And again, the reason why it's dual is because it's accountability with the US government, and it's also
Yeah.
accountability for the illegal migrants that are in the United States. It will give them 18 months under a temporary protected status, indicating that the United States as a whole is undergoing an immigration crisis that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So for 18 months during this status of crisis that the United States will say, hey, this is what we're doing. 18 months, every single person that does not have status, go ahead and register with the option you'll get safety for 18 months. This is not amnesty. Just for 18 months, you will be able to transition from one status to the next, and you'll be able to apply under another category that is going to fit what you've been doing in the United States because you have been working. The majority of individuals, yes, there may be some states, and some states more than others, may provide benefits and other types of social programs for people that do not have status, and that is a huge possibility. But for the majority of individuals, you have been working under the table. That you have been, if you are doing lawn care service for residents, that is a business. And you may have actually been able to acquire status as an entrepreneur, but you just don't know that that's an option for you. And attorney fees start at, $7,000 to $15,000, depending how big your family is. So you're not going to go actively ask for that information. But and so this is going to give you an option to, number one, give you 18 months of security where you're able to actively find a legal status to transition into. We don't need any new laws. We don't need any new regulations. We just need those 14 some million people to go ahead and register for temporary protected status so that you can transition within the 18 months. Okay, so with that being said, then it's the United States' responsibility and their accountability to ensure that we can process those individuals, right? So
Mm.
that we're processing people. So they're coming in now, they're saying, yes, I was here without status for a certain amount of time. And keep in mind, not everybody comes to the United States and just overstays. Not everyone comes to the United States, hidden in a suitcase. And not everyone is coming in under luggage or through those borders. I know of a family where they came to the United States as a student, as a dependent of a student. So the father was a student. And because the father was a student in the United States, his wife and his children could come in as dependents. When everyone came to the United States, after 2 years, that individual passed away. And so now you have a mother and, like, I think there was three children at the time that had lost status because they no longer had their primary applicant there anymore.
Oh,
So now that they're here in the United States, they don't have much family in their home country. That's why they're here in the United States, hoping to go to school, create a job, or find a job. And so now things are a little bit different. So is she going to really pack up her family and go back to a third world country that she's not? No. What she ended up doing was she picked up 4 or 5 different
mm.
jobs. She ended up being a nurse, but she also cleaned homes and she did after hours care and she did all of these things. And
Wow.
now these children are in the United States that are going through high school, yes, because they didn't know if they actually didn't go to, I think they received a scholarship. I think they received a scholarship from a foundation. But what they ended up doing was creating businesses in the United States. And actually, through their businesses, they pay taxes. Through their businesses, they own property. Through their businesses, they're able to do all of these different things. But so not everybody that comes to the United States is looking for handouts. Some people actually have the mindset to grow and have the ability to
They have a
create
dream.
jobs for others.
They have a
Yeah,
dream and they have a
exactly.
vision. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so individuals, first of all, we need to encourage that mindset for migrants that are in the United States, because this individual, just one of those children, employs over 50 people in the DMV. right?
Wow.
And so, if that person was deported, there's 50 people that are out of a job. All right. And so
Yeah.
that means that these are American citizens that are now going to require some sort of benefit from the US government. So if we can um, encourage the mindset of that American dream, like it once was prevalent back, was it the 50s and the 60s, where it's just like we want to have that American dream? Is that when that American dream was born? And, in the 70s and the 80s, we really are working towards this goal of, home ownership and being an active member to society, that we need to return to those roots where we're really encouraging work and growth here in the United States. And so, encouraging those different categories that people that are actually able to transition into. So for 18 months, you are given the opportunity to apply for whatever category without fear of deportation because you're under this category. All right. So
Mm.
you and your family, you are you're exiting fear and you're entering activation mode where you're going to actively look for
Yeah.
something where you can go ahead and transition to. All right. But then the US government on as a whole, now we're going to modify our policies. We have AI, we have, cybersecurity defense. We have so many different ways to ensure that this is not snail crawling across the finish
Mm.
line.
Right.
We have, it's about time that we update our systems, our technologies, and just our workflow so that we're able to receive these individuals, process them. And if you're not qualified because of your background, if we're not, like, when I mean background, I mean security checks and something doesn't clear, that we can say no. And that individual needs to go. Boom. But if we can actually review you and we can say, all right, you are qualified for this particular visa category, then now we have an actual taxpayer that is able to say, this is my social security number, and they're no longer using that A number that, and they're able to be a legal permanent resident here in the US. But on top of that, we also need that an integration program so that individuals will be able to actively engage in some of these businesses and programs so they can be more economically self-sufficient here in the US.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So much there. Can you
Mhm.
believe that we have already gone an hour? Like, this
Oh man.
is, yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. This is why I told you in the beginning, this is why time goes by. And that's also why I initiate like a stopwatch on the side so that I can keep track of what's going on. So, as we begin to wrap up, I've got one last question. And if you can kind of summarize this here, how does order create that opportunity rather than restrict it?
Okay. So order creates that opportunity because it involves a streamlined process. Immigration becomes more of, I don't really want to use the word factory, but it becomes streamlined in that way where
Mm-hmm.
people go into this funnel. They're able to be sectioned out by whatever category that they qualify under, and they're
Mm-hmm.
able to be reviewed, and their process can actually complete in a timely manner. Whether that resolution is a yes or a no, they can exit that maybe stage. And that maybe status is what a lot of families are terrified for. So if we can get to yes or a no at the end of the process, then that is going to clarify what individuals' next steps are.
All right, last question before we we officially wrap up here. So this is the official last question around this kind of thing, these kind of things. Um, what are 3 to 5 main takeaways you want the listener to be grasping onto as we come to a conclusion today? What are 3 to 5 main takeaways that you
Mhm.
want them to hold on to and come away with?
Okay. So, number one, our immigration system has been broken for a very long time, and we require immigration reform. All right. Number two, um, everything that we have seen, everything that we have experienced over the last year through the President Trump's administration and also the administrations prior, there is a lot more to immigration that has not been seen, that has does not meet the eye. We require accountability from our
Mhm.
migrants. We require accountability from our US government. And number three, there's only three things I'd like to take away from this, that migrants are actually, we are a nation of migrants. Migrants are the heartbeat of the United States.
Yeah.
And we can be the solution rather than the enemy. We have things that need to be fixed within our systems. Education, there's a lot of different things that we need resolutions for. Migrants can be a solution, and we just need to reform in order to see that solution. That's
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. Those are three powerful takeaways. Well done on that, by the way. I love the way you summarized that really nicely. Now, how can people connect with you if they want to get into your world and they want to connect with you, they want to work with you, they want to find out more information? How can people do that?
Okay, so I encourage you to visit us. Our website is immigrationintegrates.com. So please go ahead and visit us. We're also available on LinkedIn. My name is Davida Timon. I'm sure we'll have a link in the bio below,
Mhm,
hopefully. All right.
mhm.
I'll have a link tree. There are multiple ways to connect with us, but immigrationintegrates.com.
So, yes, to confirm, all of her links to connect with her are going to be down below in the description. So you'll see her bio there, and then you'll see the links to connect and get into her world and follow her. And so I encourage you guys, this is a very hot topic. This is a very emotional topic. And, I confess, I don't even know like all the things about it. I only know like a few things, and some of the things that she was talking about today on today's interview were kind of like aha moments for me. So I encourage you, connect with her, learn more about this, and learn how you can get involved and possibly help, possibly, you know, just go, connect with her. So I encourage you guys, description below, her links are going to be there. Lastly, you guys, so maybe this is the first time seeing any kind of content from me, and you're kind of going, well, this is great for Davida, but who's this Ken guy? What's he all about? Well, tell you what, you guys, I've lost 62 and a half pounds, and I've been able to keep it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. But now the question remains is, okay, well, how in the world did you do that? How did you become the 5% of people that have been able to keep the weight off? Well, I'm going to tell you what it's not. Okay. It's not about a diet. It's not about some kind of crazy list. It's not about a bunch of shakes. And it's definitely not about spending thousands of dollars on supplements. I've known people that have done that. And then they end up in a place to where this isn't working either. And they've just spent thousands of dollars, right? It's not about a shot, and it's not about some kind of Ozempic pill. Good grief. It's not about that. So right now, I'm literally giving away my 3 secrets to help you not only to lose weight, but to also feel energized and to get healthy without starving or dieting. In just 3 powerful sessions with me, I have a mini educational boot camp that exposes the three biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I show them how to fuel their body God's way so they can finally break free and keep the weight off for life once they've lost it sustainably and without a diet. That's how I've been able to do it sustainably and without a diet. So the links to get into my world, as well as to join my educational boot camp, are going to be below all of Davida's stuff. This boot camp that I've got, it's very reasonably priced. And the reason why I've got it so low is because one of the main things I wanted to take out is the spouse factor. I got to go ask my spouse. Because, ladies, I know you guys easily drop $200 on an outfit, and you don't even blink an eye. It doesn't even cross your mind to talk to your significant other. And guys, we've got accessories all over the place. We got those ear pods, we got gym equipment, we've got camping stuff, we've got car stuff. We easily drop $200 anywhere on that, and we don't even ask our significant other about it. That's why it's that low. So you've got nothing to lose but those extra pounds, and you've got everything to gain in the right way. Join that mini educational bootcamp. The link to join that bootcamp is going to be below in the description as well as other ways to connect with me. Davida, it's been such a pleasure having you on today's episode. I have loved hearing everything and learning for myself as well. And do you have any last minute thoughts before we click off here?
So I just wanted to thank you, Ken, for hosting me today. And I want to encourage our listeners to take action. Whether you are taking action within your own life or you're taking a stance in advocacy, take action. Let this year be different. Don't let things happen to you. Take action. Do something that you have not done before and see how your light can actually shine in whatever it is that you choose to take action in this year.
Speak
Yes.
up and stand up, you guys. Speak up and stand up.
And stand up.
Get in front of a mic if you have to. Oh my gosh. All right.
Mhm.
So, anyhow, with that, you guys have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. And we will catch you on the next episode.